Yeah, somebody already clicked the record button, and that's good. Okay, thank you. Well, welcome everyone to this session of the Circular Industries talks. And today we are very happy to have with us Meihui Jiang, who is a PhD student at the Rotterdam School of Management of the Erasmus University Rotterdam, and also part of the Circular Circuits project. And she will be talking today about the redesigning the innovation ecosystem to circularity, an embedded case study of the Dutch business-to-business electronics industry. I'm really happy that you're willing to share your thoughts and ideas with us today. And yeah, I'd just like to give you the floor. So if you're ready, just share your screen and your slides, and I'll be interested to hear what you have to say.
Sure, no problem. Thank you so much, Renee. Yes, now I will share my screen. No?
Yeah, it works.
It works?
Yes, it works.
Okay, nice. So, good morning, everyone. I'm Meihui, and I'm from Erasmus University Rotterdam, the Rotterdam School of Management, Technology and Operation Management Department. And I'm a second-year PhD student there. I'm also working in Circular Circuit projects, work package 5 business model. So now the topic I will share today is how to redesign the innovation ecosystem to circularity. And I will use the Dutch microelectronics industry as a case study. So there are also some reasons that's why I want to do this kind of project within my PhD. And as other people say, there are a lot of challenges currently in the electronics industry. And we can see the material scarcity and also the VEEE impacts. And also we can say there are more and more improved consumer awareness to the sustainable products. And also for the companies, yes, it's for our industry, there are also ESG requirements and also some legislation ask them to be more circular. And also like during the circularity process, why design the ecosystem and also redevelopment, the new circular business model is very important. There are also paradox between the circularity and profitability. So as companies, there must be really interesting for them to say how to develop successful business model for them to implement circularity better. And also with the recycling technology enhancing, so there also will be easier for people to do, like for instance, redesign for the recycling, and also to do some like reusing or remanufacturing between among this process. And also, like we can say on this market, now there are a lot of circular practices. For instance, like we try to resell the phone from the consumers, but most of them are the attention in the like B2C markets, which means directly to the consumers. But still, like in B2B industry, there are lack of the successful business models. And we can see there are already some practices on the market, like some printers, they're trying to do the leasing and lease the products and then provide service to customers. So there are also some successful ones on the market. So that's why we want to do this case study to say like how to make the circular business model better in the electronics, like in the B2B electronics industry. Yes, so that's why we can say like the circular business model, it's one of the things that's maybe currently on the industry is very interesting for people to know. Like besides developing the technology for circularity, we also need to develop really like how to say like profitable circular business model, and this can support us to also develop the technology and also to put the whole circular markets into a better place. And also here is the question, that's why I choose ecosystem for circularity to investigate, because currently in the whole value chain of the electronics is very complex for the whole network, and there are different stakeholders doing the interactions. So it's a really complicated network. And if we want to do something for circularity, there needs to be joint effort. So we need the whole ecosystem to do some coherent actions to make it happen. And also there due to be the nature of the business corporation. So if we want to do a business corporation, of course, there already being some different stakeholder involved in, so there is an ecosystem already. And also for the whole industry, we also have the shared value. We want to save the resources, and I want to reduce the environmental impacts from the EEE. And also we want to achieve our business success as well. Or it's because it's interesting for us to know how to build a better business. And also due to the global supply chain dynamics, you can say there are a lot of different players. For instance, like electronics manufacturer, its suppliers from everywhere in the world. So it's also very complex. So we think the whole circular needs, we really need to the whole ecosystem to be in operation and to make the circularity happen. Yes, and also I want to introduce a little bit what is an ecosystem. So basically, the ecosystem, also after a lot of literature, past study, literature review, we do this kind of definition by ourselves. The business ecosystem is a unit, and in this unit, there are a lot of communities, and these communities, they are organizations, and also they have their different role. And also besides these organizations, there are also external environments like the regulation and the market and also other things. So this is like a unit. And also an innovation ecosystem is a business ecosystem where the organization can interact with each other and to develop new things, new services, product or process to make this happen. So this is the ecosystem definition within our project. And after that, I'd like to invite you to have an overview of the whole microelectronics ecosystem. So this is us. And we can say there are some electronics manufacturers, they are focal form. So usually when we focus on electronics, we focus on this kind of manufacturer as a first point. And they also have their customer. So here we use B2B as our cases. So for this electronics customer, for instance, if I make lighting, and then my customer is the other hand somewhere like this supermarket, they really need light to take it better for them. And also the airport, they also need lights. So these are their customers, yes. And above this customer, they're also the whole network, so creating value. So we can say there are some suppliers for the electronics manufacturer, and also there are some recycle microchips manufacturer, and also there are some different recycler. For instance, with EEE recycler. So after customer use all the things, and then they say now currently the e-waste, they need to go to recycler. And then also some recycling, the recycler cannot do some recycling for the metal, so they will go to metal smelter. And then there are also repair service provider, between. So if there is any needs for repair the products or maybe remanufacture the product or refurbish the product, so repair service provider also provide this kind of repairing service to the electronics manufacturer. And they are plastics recyclers. So there are lots of different stakeholders within this value network. And besides this, outside this network, there is also the environment, the legislator, such for instance, the EU. So we can say there are a lot of CRM Act, or maybe the EEE derivative, and also the SINALEC, different standards. So they are the regulatory environment, which means this kind of innovation or this kind of your business should happen within this kind of regulation. And also the financer will do the investment to more circular-based business. For instance, they can do the investment to the metal recycler, help them to develop the new technology, and then it's better for all of us. Also, knowledge institutions such as us, the universities and also research institutions, so we can provide the knowledge to the whole industry, how to make the circular transformation happen. This is like the whole map of the whole ecosystem. And we can see there are already some business model currently in the ecosystem. For instance, the WEEE recycler, it accepts all the WEEE from different stakeholders, and it can do some like the deal with them, do some recycling, and then go to different recycler, their downstream recycler, or go to the market. So this kind of organization, they want to be circular, and there are already some stakeholders like this on the market. There are also other type of circular strategy currently on the market. For instance, like the component supplier. So itself, it cannot be circular by itself, but it wants to be more circular. So it's trying to redesign the product with more circular material, like recycled metals, and also doing some different redesigning, try to make the product easier to be recycling. So this kind of strategy they use for themselves to do this kind of circular strategy. And in this network, also we can see some joint business model, like the electronics manufacturer, they try to like provide service or product to the customer, and then the repair service provider will do this kind of repairing and accept the product from the customer and then back to the customer or back to the electronics manufacturer to resell it on the market. So this is like the joint business model. And currently also some of the stakeholders working on it already. So there is also some different type. For instance, like we can say repair service provider, but WEEE recycler and component supplier also try to take its role to do more repairing or refurbishing for the electronics manufacturer. So it seems to be there are some merging business now already on the market. So also like within the ecosystem, there are some competition to some extent, because some different stakeholder want to try to take the business model from other type of stakeholder, make them business better. But yeah, there are also like some competition on the market. So what we should do in this such a complex and really comprehensive ecosystem, we should do a collaboration. That means all the party, we can have some forces to each other, but after that, there will be some like final results of the whole map. And here I want to introduce some theory to you. So this is, so this is like, also there are serious past study about circular business model innovation. And this is like a stage of different circular business model. For instance, if you're a startup, you just need to build your own circular business model, and or you already have a current circular business model on the market, but you want to use it, that is acquisition. Or you already have a business model, but you want to embed the circular one into your current business model. So that is diversification. Or you have a business model, but it's not circular at all. You want to transfer it to circular, that is transformation. So there are some different stages of the development of business model on the market already. And what I'm trying to do is to put different nature of the business model and the stage of the development of business model together to say the case study of Dutch microelectronics industry, and to say how many business model currently on the market, and also how to do a better future for the whole next generation circular electronics. But then I have my research question, how to redesign the innovation ecosystem to make the whole B2B electronics industry towards circularity. And I will use the case study to answer this try to use these 4 questions to answer my main research question. And later I will have some suggestions also for the whole electronics ecosystem. Well, here are my 18 cases in the microelectronics ecosystem. So you can say there is a really comprehensive supply chain already. And in different stakeholder, we have some industry partners. And also, besides the whole supply chain, there are also financier and governments make some forces into the whole ecosystem. So it's a relatively a whole ecosystem already. And this is why I want to do this kind of case study to know what's happening in the markets. My methodology is an embedded case study. So it is divided into 2 phases. In the first phase is last year, May to October, I do a pilot study we went to different companies of the industry partners to do the company visits. And also I do some unstructured interviews with some experts in the company and to say their reports about sustainability and also some documentation, their internal data. And also we go to the field, so we see the facilities and also talk with them and to say like how they deal with EEE, for instance. So all of them, they're like the first stage of study. And after that, since last year, November to now, I'm doing the semi-structured interviews to different experts in different type of stakeholders in the map. Just now I show you. And also after this, I will do the qualitative data coding to summarize what are the findings of my study. And I already have the first round of finding. So here I want to present you this. This is like I do the mapping of all the companies in the matrix. So these are the companies that I want to study. And of course, like they are in the matrix as well. So you can notice many companies, they are doing some circular strategy by themselves. And some of companies, they're also trying to do the kind of startup. For instance, they want to be circular. So it means it seems to be this industry is relatively circular already because all of them individually, they want to try to do some circular stuffs. But there's really not a lot of people working on how to do the joint business model to make all the stakeholders together. And we think of some shared value things. And also we do some business model like together to make like a larger future. So we can say this is the current condition, and maybe it's better for us to do this kind of transformation to the joint power, and then we can have more power to the whole industry. So also maybe it's interesting for you to know on the markets, how many business model are they now, like in the Dutch electronics industry. So one of them is like the repair service provider, they charge service fee to provide different services to the electronics manufacturer. And this is like their business model. So they do this kind of repairing things. And then their different service bundle will be their profits for themselves, and it's quite work. So for the like in this individual organization, it's really work if you do this kind of services. And there are also, of course, circular startup. So also for recyclers, we can say their current business model, most of them still like 80% is still like linear, because for them it's linear, and they collect the EEE from everywhere and then go to the recycling. And then after recycling, they go to the markets or go to other recycler. And if they go to a metal recycler also will melt them and sell them on the markets again. So it's like circular business, but for themselves it's linear. But there is also a trend, is like with EEE trying to take the roles of repairing service provider. So they also provide service for their customers. And to provide this kind of on-demand and customized service, they can charge a repairing and refurbish fee. And yeah, and this is like they add another business model into their current one. It's a very good diversification, and we can see the merging business role. So there are also like some competition currently on the market. Yes, or we can say, so for the manufacturers, we can say like almost all the manufacturers, they're trying to do something by themselves individually. For instance, microchips manufacturer, they're trying to do circular design. Like, yeah, but it's really hard for their products to be circular, but it's like they are trying to do something to reduce their like unsustainable impact and trying to do something to help the whole circular industry. And for electronics manufacturer, it's also trying to do design and also reuse some materials and components to make it better. But it also has some innovation to their customers, trying to provide them products, trying to provide them services rather than products. For instance, like leasing or keep the ownership of the electronics by themselves. So then it can maximize the return rate from the customers. And then if they get a return product, they can reuse it and they can remanufacture it. So it's actually easier for them to make all things circular and also reuse. They also like provide, like for instance, software service or cloud service. So use this kind of intelligent ones to customers, and they can just like keep the hardware and they that doesn't really need to be upgraded. But if you upgrade the software, and it can also help, we don't produce more electronics. So it's also a benefit to the whole sustainability. And some of them also provide a refurbished or remanufactured services. For instance, like Signify is provide the remanufacturing to some of its customers. So it's really like for instance, like the supermarket. So if the light in the supermarket they broke, and then they will be transported again to the Signify, and then it will do this kind of services for the customer. So it's like CBM acquisition. And also for the customers, they need to return the product. So it's like diversification, yes. And for the component manufacturer, it's trying to do the circular design, because it's not circular by themselves. And we can say the components manufacturer, they're trying to take the role of repair service provider as well, because they are also doing some repairments for their customers. So there is also competition on the market. Yeah, and we can say this is the last one, the joint business model. So the manufacturers and service provider, they're trying to do something together. But for the manufacturers, they provide 2C services and 2B services. And the repair service provider, they do this kind of like services. They're actually implementer for this strategy. And the electronics manufacturer, they also trying to do the transformation and acquisition at the same time. So if we link all the stakeholders together, it's like a CBM diversification. That's also why I think currently on the industry, the companies need to be together to work more joint business model, because it includes all the stages of circular business model and also includes more stakeholders. So it can make the whole power larger. Also, during this study, we investigate what are drivers and barriers currently towards circularity for these companies, and we summarize some really key problems and also key drivers. For instance, like the legislation, the regulation, market demand, and technology development, they really can contribute to the whole circularity. But there are also some barriers that companies they really care, like their cost and also the regulation and also how they can do this. They don't know any information, who need to take the lead to share the whole information to the industry, and also their customer behavior. So they need to have the urge to transfer from linear to circular. So for them, actually, there are lots of things they don't know how to do. Yeah, so there are some like suggestions to the current condition. First, we try to promote more drivers to let them to help our industry to be more circular, and also deal with the barriers. For instance, the cost. It's more like they don't have successful business model, so they need to cover the cost by themselves. They don't really have a profit really large. So now we are trying to think how to make the business model actually work and also make profits for the company, so they can have the incentive and they will work more on and like to make things circular. So it's not just like they are really nice. They want to create a sustainable world. They are more like they can also get interest. So the circular economy is all of our choices because it's better. And also some individual circular attempts. So we can trying to do some more circular practices by ourselves, but we also need to build up more sub-network and to do more joint business model together to make the whole ecosystem better. And here is like the visual, how to visualize it. It's like we are different units here and we have our independency. Now what we are doing is trying to make more partnerships and also do some strategy by ourselves. But if there are more stakeholders on the market, and what we can do is we collaborate together and we do some innovation together, and then we can do the co-evolution together. So it's more like we can create value together and also do this collaboration within our value creating and value capturing network. Also, outside them, we need the openness environment with shared information, which can be done like even like from the legislation parts or from the whole cohesion, this kind of cohesion actions from different stakeholders on the market. And also we need to create some shared value, like what we agree on together, and this is our goal, and we need to try to achieve this goal and to make the whole industry can have the same interest. Not someone is more harm, but someone gets more profits. It's not equal. So we're trying to do this kind of value distribution, also make the whole industry better. So it's like the better external environment to provide this to the whole ecosystem, I can say. Yeah, so this is also like my future steps of the study. So I want to try to say how to develop the joint circular business model, and also say how the regulatory environments can change and make it easier for the different companies and also for our electronics industry to be easier to be circular. That's all of my presentation. Thank you so much for listening. And if you have any questions, just freely to ask me. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I'll just give you a real hand to see a lot of virtual hands as well. So thanks very much for this presentation, Meihui. Yeah, the floor is open for questions. So if you have any questions, just raise your hand or open your mic, and maybe I can kick it off with a question just to get things started. So my question would be, if you look at you give a very broad overview, let's say, and a theoretical description of the model itself. To what extent are you going to do real case studies, let's say? Because when I think about these types of things, I try to imagine what a piece of electronics, let's say a laptop or a phone, would actually look like, for example, and how would that fit within a circular business model? What would that so if you envision, let's say, the ideal situation in 20, 30 years from now, with the regulatory system in place and with also the business models in place, what would differ, let's say, compared to the current situation? If I would buy a mobile phone, for example, so would it look different? Would the whole business model be different? Do you have any ideas on that? And are you going to use these very practical case studies in your work?
So this is actually a lot of questions at the same time. So yeah, so I trying to do this within the B2B electronics industry, which means it's not like we buy a mobile phone. It's more like a company buy a lot of laptops for their employees, this kind of case. And in this case, so what will happen is not how the laptop they will change. It's more like how this kind of method will change. Like they before, because now the company, if we buy 1,000 of laptops or we buy some devices for our company, it's like we buy the device and we have the device in our company. But maybe like if we're trying to develop the non-ownership business model, so which means we buy the devices, but we buy the using rights of them, and we don't have the ownership of them. The ownership is still with like keep in the electronics manufacturers. And also so what I buy is a service from them because they need to provide us the environment to do this kind of IT stuffs. Yeah, so which means if I have anything I need to repair, or I need to like ask from them, they need to provide this kind of services to us. Also, they need to provide like the upgrading the cloud or upgrading some software and these services to us, and we can use their devices, but it's not ours. And then after some years, it's like our contract is 10 years. So after 10 years, I need to return all the laptops to the electronics manufacturer. So the electronics manufacturer, they can like reuse it, remanufacture it, use the materials or the components from this electronics and make it like, for instance, like remanufacture and then sell to me again, or like do this and sell to other customers again. Or they cannot be sold, but they can acquire all the material and they can use for some future using. So it's like more circular because it's preventing like producing more and more electronics, but we can do this kind of cycle within our network.
So this let's say from basically selling products to selling services. So is something that you're thinking of as one of the options, let's say, to make things more circular. Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
this is one thing. And also I think it's relatively interesting also on the industry, because like my case study is more like I do the study for different companies, and they tell me, and the experts from the company, they can tell me, and I can observe what are the problems they have now, and also what business model they are interested in to develop. And I can say the non-ownership model is very interesting for almost all of them. So this might be my future focus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks. Okay. Any other questions from the audience? I see Peter.
Yes, good morning. Thank you for
Good morning.
showing. Good morning. Thank you for showing how interacted the whole circularity is, that we should think of circular networks instead of circular companies. It's so difficult that it's a whole sector. Currently, we hear from a lot of recyclers that they can produce materials, but that their materials are too expensive, and that's holding of innovation, etc., because they do not get a good price for the recycled materials. And we hear that the EU is talking about obligations to use reused metals. Shouldn't we also, how can you stimulate such an integrated network? Shouldn't we, for example, um, uh, charge the use of virgin materials, for example? Can you comment on how to stimulate this whole network of companies, because the circularity does not happen at a single company, but happens in the chain, in the cooperation, in the interaction? Can you comment on that? How to stimulate such a chain?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thanks a lot for the question. It's really good question. And also I heard it from some of the companies. This is also what they are really interested in. So also from my field research till now, I think maybe the first thing is for instance, if we encounter this kind of condition, the legislation is really important. Is yeah, because obviously from the company the price is higher, and also for the recycler, they also want to have a competitive price on the market. So it's like unequal. And if the government it ask, for instance, like every electronics devices, it needs to contain like 50% recycled metals, then like we don't really care about the price, because everyone need to do this. If they don't do, they can't get a certification, and they can't be on the market. So it can be one of the driving forces, but it's cost like more for all of us. But yeah, but it's one of the solution. And the other solution is yeah, because also we also trying to like also know some companies, they trying to reduce the price of producing this kind of recycled metals. For instance, like one of the case company mine, it's called Ryukma before. So now it's trying to like it develop the X sorter, so which means it can be like have higher efficiency in separating and also producing the aluminum alloy. There are some technologies trying to help the company, also help the recycling company to enhance their efficiency. So the price will obviously decrease. So there can't be like I can see the original metal, it's really lower than the recycled one. So like if they are relatively similar, and if the company have more circular strategy oriented, and also the government ask for it, so it's also easier for them to do this. And maybe the third solution is they can also be some incentive on the markets as well. I also talked this before with the Holland province. So there are no incentive on if you use recycled metals into your product, or if your product is a remanufactured product, is actually the second life already on the market, but there's no incentive. And also for the second life product, it also need to pay the tax the same as if they are first life product. So yeah, so this is like what regulation should do something. If they don't charge the tax, like for the second life product, we can say it's a reused, it's a remanufactured product, and so it can be on the market and we don't charge anything. So then it's an incentive for the company to use more reused materials to do this kind of remanufacturing more, because it's also obviously more profitable for them. Yeah, so there can be some there can be some actions trying to do this within the whole network, and it will influence each other, like different stakeholders. Yeah, this is like the knowledge I know, like from also interviewing different experts and also regulators, and then I can say maybe there can be some practices. Yes.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions from the audience? I don't see any hands raised. So for the moment, I think, we should thank you, Meihui, just for sharing your thoughts on this. I think it's a very interesting topic, and it's also something that needs a lot of extra thoughts, because I think it's very difficult to set up these circular business models for the electronics sector. And I think the business to business is indeed one of the niches where it's a bit easier maybe than to the consumer side. But still, I think, purely from the business perspective and business model perspective, I think, it needs a bit more thought, maybe indeed. So it's good that you are working on that. So thanks for your insights, and thank you all for joining. And I hope to see you with the next version of this series. Okay.
Yeah, thanks a lot for the opportunity. And also, I'm really glad to share this. And if you have any other questions, maybe later you can also go to me. Yes.
Okay. Thank you. Bye-bye.